anybody else that watched Ring of Honor during the heyday, I want you guys to chime in because I feel ignorant about this. So Ariel Scherner was the head booker of TNA, right? He has now been replaced by Hunter Johnston, Delirious, who was the head booker of Ring of Honor for years. What do you think about Delirious? What do you like? What are his some of the better things that he's booked, and what are some like the crappier things he's booked?
I'm not a huge Delirious fan. Delirious booked I don't want to say Prime Ring of Honor, because Prime Ring of Honor was like Gabe and even Jim Cornette and those guys. Like that's like late 2000s Ring of Honor. Hunter Johnson was the booker when Ring of Honor started we'll call it modern indie ascension, right? About a decade ago, right? When Ring of Honor started getting kind of cool. Of course, there's the train because I live in the sticks. So like we're talking about the rise of the Bullet Club era, and I don't think I'm out of line when I say this, but Hunter Johnson's stuff with Ring of Honor looks good because of Gato, right?
Yeah.
It was the New Japan deal that really allowed Ring of Honor to flourish because it was the stateside home of the Young Bucks specifically, who were Ring of Honor's top act a decade ago, right? And the Briscoes to a lesser extent, like Jay Briscoe, Jay Lethal, that was pretty much your world title scene. Kevin Steen, a little, too, the latter half of it. But it was really the Bucks. The Bucks were the draw. Cody Rhodes comes in. You have the Bullet Club. It was the home of Bullet Club. Now, that being said, there aren't a whole lot of great angles, right? The Ring of Honor TV in that era was just a collection of matches, right? You would get angles on occasion, right? It wasn't like, I don't want to say it was poorly booked, but it wasn't very imaginatively booked either. Yeah. What Ring of Honor, it's funny because it was owned by a TV station, but it was owned by a TV station that put it in a whenever time slot, right? And their modus operandi was still house shows, right? House shows and DVD sales. So the TV, which would be months out of date by the time you got to see it, as compared to what was actually going on in the company, it was just a different beast. And TV, Ring of Honor TV, can be inconsequential at times.
Yeah.
Right? I remember one time Gallows and Anderson were in the main event, and they had just debuted in WWE like a month earlier. Right? Like, this is in 2016. But again, this is the era when AJ Styles is in all the time, where they're really... you're bringing in the Global Wars, where you're really bringing in all these New Japan guys. This is the only place you could see Kazuchika Okada or Shinsuke Nakamura. So it's Ring of Honor was making good money. He's Hunter Johnson's the booker for Ring of Honor when they booked the Madison Square Garden show. So all that makes him look like he's a great booker, but in reality, find me anything that wasn't Bullet Club adjacent that was great. I don't think you can.
Yeah. So I think, and to your point, I think if you're TNA, it's like, well, we have Joe Hendry and we have the Hardys who are drawing the houses. And we have this affiliation with WWE that's subsidizing the rest of our cards. And that's really putting us over the edge. Let's go ahead and hire Delirious because he has experience with like 3 guys that can actually draw and then using another company to come help fill out the houses.
Which when you put it like that, it kind of makes sense because you could actually look at that. It makes complete and total sense. Because it's not going to make for great TV. But if you've got other writers and stuff like that around him, maybe he's a guy that can keep things together. Because it wasn't like that was Ring of Honor was bad. Ring of Honor didn't get bad to watch until AEW opened up and they kind of strip mined the company.
Yeah. So
right.
I think Delirious has probably been running most of creative for like the last year anyway, because this guy Ariel, I don't know that he knows how to book wrestling. I think like he was like the final say on everything, but I really think that he's been in charge anyway. And now, like, Delirious is the final say. I'm sure that the president, Carlos Silva, has something, but he doesn't know anything about wrestling either. Like, he's never worked in a wrestling promotion. So I think he's just going to let Delirious kind of run the show, and he has experience to do so. The thing about Impact is it's never really all that bad. A lot of times it's, like, very paint-by-numbers, bland stuff. I think the premium events, the pay-per-views, and the TNA Plus specials are usually always, like, pretty good. They don't do what AEW does. They don't do what WWE does. They kind of do their own thing. And because of that, I think they're like unique and they're in their own world. And they're usually like pretty fun. But you're not going to get Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher there. They just ain't got the horses. So they make do with what they got. And I think what they do a pretty good job. And so I think like Delirious is like, okay, I wish, and I think Ewan was in the chat, said wrestling bookers across the board are out of fresh ideas and need a new visionary mind from left field. I agree with that. I've been like saying that we need creative to be more creative again, right? Like we need like early 2000s, like before things got too crazy, like Jeff Jarrett with all these like Ultimate X and all these like cool ideas that he had. Like we need, like Tony Khan in 2019, right? Like just a bunch of fresh ideas, just bang, bang, bang. I think that would be cool, but like you don't get those every so often. It's because those guys aren't falling off of trees. You know what I mean? So I think that gets to be difficult.
There's a massive barrier of entry into wrestling that it's different. I want to say it didn't exist 40 years ago, because it did. Like back in the day, you only got into wrestling if you were in wrestling, right? Or if your family was in wrestling. Like you only got to book if you were mainly a wrestler that showed some impulsive creative. And it wasn't even creatively. It was how to sell. It was like, could you like booking? We think of booking as more of a creative thing, when in booking is literally your matchmaking. You're trying to put together a show for a specific town that will draw money, and if you could be creative with it, well, that's really good. Like, where are these people coming from, right? And I don't think Ewan's wrong. I think we do need fresh, creative voices. The problem is so many of those get filtered through the WWE system, and so many of them have been raised on WWE programming that you have the ticks of of specifically 2000s WWE in everything, even Tony Khan stuff, which again, it's looking better lately. I just finished watching this week's Dynamite.
Dynamite's on a fucking roll.
Yeah, creatively, it's actually pretty good right now. I know the cool thing is to shit on it, and I was that guy for a long time. But I think the program is actually pretty good and pretty well booked. Like, dude, they my favorite thing on Dynamite this week was they told us Katsuyori Shibata was running a camera, so it motivated a camera backstage. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you for motivating a roaming camera on the backstage. Stuff like that is all right. But I've said this for months, I would love to see someone blow up the face of what a wrestling program is and like do something different. Because remember, the format of what we think of as a pro wrestling show today was really kind of, hate to say this, it makes me want to spit, is really kind of honed by Eric Bischoff.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of what we do,
legit.
It's true. Like a lot of what TV is now with wrestling was forged by Nitro, and Monday Night Raw had some of those aspects to it, but Monday Night Raw, the original Monday Night Raw, the 93 and 96 Monday Night Raw before it just became Raw, was really more akin to like studio wrestling. It was really WWE's, a WWF's version of what a studio wrestling show is. And then Eric Bischoff brought a new dimension of making Nitro like, the hub of the program, and like this is where everything revolves around this, and it's been like everything exists in the arena, and there's just been nothing unique to wrestling in a long time. Lucha Underground tried some cool things, but I just don't know how much that stuff is applicable to a sports-based presentation. I don't know how you make it different, although I would just like to see something different.
Yeah, I think we had Lucha Underground, and then of course we had the Hardy Compound stuff, which was like super like way out of.
It was different.
It was different and it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what, and that's why, and this is why it worked best in TNA, is because TNA was the company, especially 10 years ago, that could take some super creative risks and be different. Like, I don't know if it was the first cinematic match that we call it cinematic matches now, but Matt Hardy really pioneered it in his own way and kind of made it his own thing to the point where everybody's done it now, and I don't think anybody's done it quite as well. A lot of people tell you, oh, the Boneyard match was brilliant. No, it wasn't. It was fucking awful.
Hey. Yeah, I enjoyed the Boneyard.
It's terrible. It's not as good as the Final Deletion.
No, it's not. I liked the Boneyard match. I did not like John Cena Bray Wyatt. I thought that one was not good.
Oh, see, that was awful. Yeah. And like WWE tried to do their own versions of that, of the Final Deletion with the Wyatts and stuff like that, it was terrible.
Yeah, that was crap, because they did it with the Wyatts and the Hardys, and then they had tried it with Wyatts and
the New Day.
Yeah,
it was awful. It was never good. Like, so like they were able to do that. Again, say what you will about it, Matt Hardy and TNA were able to pioneer something, right? In an era where TNA really needed something, where Impact at the time really needed something. Ewan says, Piper versus Goldust WrestleMania was kind of cinematic. Yeah, so was Dustin Rhodes versus the Blacktop Bully in the back of the truck. I mean, like,
Yeah.
Stuff like that has been tried, but it was different.
Yeah, the first cinematic match that comes to my mind, even though it wasn't filmed like cinematic, was Piper and Lawler. Like, no, not Piper and Lawler. Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler, I Quit match. Like,
yeah, I Quit match.
Like that, yeah, empty arena. But it wasn't like cinematic style with all the music in the background and the campiness. Like, it didn't have that.
Yeah.
So
no, and that's what made that match kind of special. And again,
yeah,
for what it was genius at the time. Like, I think that like a found footage movie. The first time Blair Witch Project came out, like, that was unique. It was cool. Blew people's minds, right? And now it's a genre unto itself, and it's played out as fuck. And I think that, especially during the pandemic, the cinematic match really took that abuse. But at least it was something different. I don't know what that is, but I would love to see somebody do wrestling differently than what we've seen for the last.
Yeah. We'll put a bow on this TNA stuff. I do want to say, check out Brace for Impact on the patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show. It's already out. Some of my commentary has been a little bit outdated, so I'm gonna have to update some of it before I release some YouTube videos, because I had some of the information I had on Thursday night. It had evolved by Saturday, so we'll have some new information on there. So go and check that out. I actually reviewed it on Thursday night. I watched TNA Thursday night. I reviewed it Thursday night. It's already out. I'm gonna try to get the video clipped for the YouTube in the coming days. So just be on the lookout for that if you can't do the $5 a month. But we greatly appreciate you guys supporting the show. We always have a bunch of content coming out there, and that's where, like, a lot, like, if you guys are just into the TNA stuff, I will say that, BQ probably has like the best TNA specific like channel. Like, his is only TNA, but I don't think anybody covers TNA as in depth as I do with the nuance that I cover it in, because I don't cover it from although I do like the company, I don't cover it like a fanboy type thing. Like, I very much come at them whenever it's necessary. And so if you think you're going to come in and like, oh, Mike is just going to be kissing ass all the time, that doesn't happen on that show. So, and it's never happened on that show, even when JD was on the show. So that has not changed. So there's a lot of stuff. What I will say is that this past week's Impact had a little bit of Mid-South. It had a little bit of Lucha Underground without the spooky. No spooky, but it had some like backstage cinematic type stuff with some of the music that Lucha Underground was doing. Had a couple good wrestling matches. And so I thought it was a pretty well-rounded episode of TV this week, except for they had a super long segment with Frankie Kazarian, Elias, and Joe Hendry that started off like 5 minutes was good, and then, man, it got into like 12 minutes, 15 minutes. I was like, oh, it's too much. That was way too much. Yeah,
I'm a big pass on that.
Yeah.
Mike. No one covers TNA as well as Mike Gilbert does. Like, especially in the Voices of Wrestling crew. Like, Mike is getting renowned for his coverage with TNA. I highly recommend anyone listening to this who is not familiar with Brace for Impact, please listen to Brace for Impact. Mike knows his shit.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to the next time. Oh, hold on, Gerard put himself over in the chat. And Gerard, a body slam for real. Gerard, all day, every day, like 24/7. His brother's got articles coming out on body slam. So there you go, Gerard.